Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be building up and painting this vintage Bluetits model kit from Airfix. This kit dates all the way back to 1977, which is a very important year for me, as it's the year I first started walking, or when Star Wars came out. This is kit number 03831-5, and as it states on the box, it comes complete with a stand, assembly instructions and a painting guide. So let's check it out. As you can see, all the plastic parts come in a plastic bag. This is still sealed, so I need to cut it open to get inside. Thankfully, I always have a knife on standby, because I'm making a mess of tearing it open. There are 4 spools altogether, although a couple of the larger pieces have already dropped off. We will go through them in just a moment, but first we'll take a look at the paperwork. First out of the bag is a little flyer to join the modelling club. I can either send off for more information with this note, or I could check out my weekly comic, Buster, which I believe I still have one in the loft somewhere. The instructions are in black and white and look fairly straightforward to follow. On the reverse side is a colour guide along with some factual information about the Bluetits. The first step for me is to remove all the parts from the sprues. I find it easier to do this all at once for these smaller kits, as we're in no real danger of misplacing any parts. So after a little bit of clean-up work, I lay everything out, and now we know exactly what we have to work with. I start off by assembling all the pieces for the base. First off, I have to glue all the halves of the branches together, and for this I'm using plastic cement. On modern kits this stuff bonds almost instantly, but I've noticed on some of these older ones it takes a little while. So where possible, I clamp the 2 halves together until the weld can take hold, and then it's just a matter of slowly assembling the tree. There are a few seam lines and gaps, but those can be fixed later. But for now, we have 2 birds to assemble, and these are a lot harder to put together as there's a lot of curves and not many straight edges. I persevere regardless and try and make sure the joints are as neat as possible. These are the near completed Bluetits. I want to paint them up first before attaching them to the tree, which means the rear talons have to be kept separate for now. I have a lot of gaps to fill in, so for that I use some Tamiya modelling putty. So I'll just dab it on where it's needed, then rub it in with a wet finger, and this should fill in the majority of the seams. And once those have dried, I can clean them up with a sanding sponge, and then for the finer detail I can use a small sanding file. The file is quite useful for gouging out details, such as scratching in the lines of the feathers to match the model, and this way the seam become invisible. And once I'm happy with that, it's time to spray on some primer. So cover all the model before moving on to the next phase, and that is painting everything white to act as a base colour. And once I've painted these birds white, I put them to one side so I can concentrate on the tree. And for that, I painted on the wood colour, and I followed that up by dry brushing on a darker shade, followed by a lighter shade. And this just helps to add a little bit of natural variety, because nothing in nature is just one solid colour. Next, I painted the leaves a light green, and that was followed up by a yellow dry brush. For the rocks on the base, I mostly went with a dark grey, although I did mix in some other colours to add a bit of variety, and those were highlighted with a dry brush in white. And next on the list was to fill the remaining space with green. This is going to act as a base colour, so I can add some of this green moss onto it, and that should help add to the realism of the base. But first I need to cover all the green areas with some PVA glue, and a cotton bud helped me do that. Then it's just a matter of tearing up the fake moss and cramming it in all the crevices. This does try and fight the glue, so to help it stick down, I also added some fixer so that it was soaked through and help hold it in place. And while the base is still sticky and wet, I sprinkled on some model grass, and this helped to give me some colour variation. And then I can put it to one side to set. And once the glue's hardened, I can cut off some of the overhanging pieces, and then I can move on to painting the birds. And the first thing I do is paint their bellies yellow, and nobody likes being known as a yellow belly. The upper crest of their backs are painted in a lime green, and then by far the large majority of the birds are painted in blue. These are all just the basic colours for now and will need blending in shortly. Next up I have to paint the black details on the faces, including their eyes. Then it was just a matter of blending in the colours and adding a little bit more depth to them, and this was mostly done by dry brushing, starting off with a white to catch all the highlights, and then I moved on to the blues, greens and browns, and these helped to add some colour variation as well as softening up those hard edges. And once the painting was all complete, I could superglue the birds to the tree, and I also had the added task of gluing on the rear talon, and this way it looked like the feet were gripped around the branch. Unfortunately I couldn't really hide the join, but with them being at the rear, they're not very noticeable anyway. Then I repeated the same process for the second bird, and then all I had to do was seal everything in, and for that I just used a matte sealer. And for this we can't get away with using gloss, otherwise it'll look shiny and like a proper model, and we're going for the realism here. But for the finishing touches though, I do dab on a little bit of gloss for the eyes. And there we have it, our vintage Bluetits model kit is finished. This kit certainly had its challenges, but I managed to work through them and get them looking fairly realistic. I'm just looking up some facts which come included with this kit. They are most prominently seen in Britain and Europe. It turns out that their food of choice consists of caterpillars, green flies, moths and other insects. They are present all year round and begin nesting in March, and by May the female will typically lay between 8 and 15 eggs, and those eggs are white with red-brown spots, and the young learn to fly after about 19 days. Right, I think that's enough facts about Bluetits. What did you think about the kit? Let me know in the comment below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.